All right, thanks for joining us. So although it's ski season, our teams here in the Valley are still hitting the hardwood.
Kicking things off, we've got the Huskies at Battle Mountain High. Battle Mountain has had a tough season so far this year. The Huskies sit at 2-14 on the year and are 0-1 in league play. Not to mention, this team is on a 2-game losing streak. Battle Mountain plays their next game against Glenwood Springs in Edwards. Eagle Valley High boys basketball is having a solid season so far. The Devils currently sit at 10-7 on the year and are also 1-0 in league play. Eagle Valley High is currently on a 2-game win streak and plays their next game against Palisade. Now we'll head back to Edwards, where 2A school Vail Christian is batting .500 on the year. The Saints are 6-6 on the season and 3-2 in league play. Vail Christian is currently on a 1-game skid, but before that loss, the Saints were on a 4-game winning streak. Vail Christian boys basketball will play their next game against Custer County. Vail Mountain School has played a solid season so far. The Girl Rangers are 7-5 on the season and 2-0 in league play. Not to mention, this team is currently coming off a forfeit win over Lotus School of Excellence. The Gore Rangers play their next game against North Fork.
Now, girls basketball is still on a roll here in the Valley as well, and we're going to take a quick look at those standings.
Starting off with Battle Mountain, the Huskies are having a tough season as they sit at 4-10 on the year and 0-1 in league play. Battle Mountain is currently on a 4-game losing streak, and they play their next game against Glenwood Springs in Edwards. Eagle Valley girls basketball, on the other hand, isn't doing a whole lot better than the Huskies. The Devils sit at 6-9 on the regular season. However, they're 1-0 in league play. The Devils are currently on a 1-game losing streak, though, and they'll look to turn it around against a good Palisade team. Although our girls teams here in the Valley are having difficult years, Vail Christian girls basketball is definitely having it the hardest. The Saints won their first game of the season, but have yet to win since. Vail Christian girls basketball sits at 1-8 on the year, and the Saints are 0-5 in league play. Vail Christian is on an 8-game losing streak and will face off next against Sirocco.
Now, over at Vail Christian, the boys basketball team has a brand new head coach. Here's our conversation with the new man at the helm, Andrew Newman. So we're with the new head coach of Vail Christian basketball, Andrew Newman. And Coach, you got a new season in front of you. What's kind of the expectation there?
Well, it's really hard to say right now. We're a very green, very young team, but we're super excited. A lot of great kids, a lot of work ethic going on, a lot of effort going in, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, and I was telling you this earlier when we were chatting just a minute ago, but you know, you guys may be a newer team, but it seems like the chemistry is already there. Do you feel like you guys already kind of have that camaraderie on the team?
Yeah, for sure. A couple of the seniors in particular are doing a great job leading us, so they're building that chemistry from the top down. And then the younger guys in each of those classes, there's a couple kids that are really leading their classes. So I'm really happy to see this early in the season, this kind of chemistry.
Okay, in what ways will those seniors come together? You mentioned you have 3, Jack Pryor, Will Newman. How do you think those guys are going to kind of come together and lead this team this season?
Well, they're going to have to really put in a lot of effort on the court, probably getting a lot of minutes out there. Hopefully everybody stays healthy, but it's more their leadership off the court that matters. They're doing a great job really leading these guys and building that chemistry, especially encouraging the younger guys. You know, when you're new to high school basketball or it's your first time on varsity, there's a lot you got to learn. There's a huge learning curve, and those guys are doing a great job encouraging the younger players.
And you may be new to the head coaching role, taking over the helm of this Vail Christian program, but you're not new to the team by any standard. You've been here 2 years, got the torch passed over you from Coach Coons. What was that moment like to be kind of handed the role of this program that's been successful in his 23 years here, to be that guy that he wanted to take over the helm?
Yeah, that was a huge honor. Really grateful for everything that he's done for this school and for this program. And like you said, 23 years, he's built a winning culture, a winning program, a great chemistry. We're going to be keeping a lot of the things that he did and just try to build on the great foundation he's already created.
Okay, and you mentioned, you know, not a lot's going to change. That winning culture is hopefully going to stick around too with you at the helm. But what things may change under your leadership? We're
going to keep trying to maintain a pretty high tempo. You know, this valley is a valley that has a lot of great athletes. We've got a lot of great athletes on this team, so can work really hard to keep pushing the tempo and you know, really working to have a high character team that in everything we do, we're trying to reflect the values of this school.
Okay, and you mentioned you got a scrimmage with Battle Mountain coming up. Obviously, that's an exhibition game against, you know, another Valley team, so you probably want to do pretty well in that matchup. But What kind of makes that a good game from y'all? How you show up against Battle Mountain?
Well, it's going to be interesting because we're only going to have about 6 practices with this green group of guys before we hit that scrimmage. So we're still learning each other's names, let alone all the offenses, defenses. So a lot of it's just going to be going out there and playing good basketball. It is fun, though, to be playing inter-valley teams. A lot of these guys play together in the off season, so they all know each other. And so what's really fun is those friendships, knowing the coaches, knowing the guys, the friendships off the court, and then you get on the court, all of a sudden, game's on. It's competition. And even though in a scrimmage, you're not supposed to keep score, I can promise you, every one of our guys, they're going to know the score in their own heads. So we'll have a good time.
And speaking about playing, inter-valley teams, you guys play Vail Mountain School twice a year. That's the big rivalry in this valley for y'all. What's it going to be like, you think, just getting on the court as the head coach of this team and playing them this year for your first time at the helm?
Yeah, this year we're going to be playing them at their gym. Their gym is always packed. It's a tight gym. It'll be a full house, I'm sure. And like you said, it's an in-valley competition, so this should be a really good time. It's going to be a tough game. They always play a tough game. They're a very well-coached team. They're very strategic in the way they play the game, so it's going to be a really tough game for sure.
How have you kind of grown to appreciate this rivalry between Vail Christian and Vail Mountain School in your 2 years prior to taking over this team?
Well, it's always one of the games we have circled on our calendar, and I'm sure they do as well. It's just a good time. I mean, off the court, you want to be able to say you won that game this year, so they'll have a great program. They always have a great program. Hopefully we'll be strong as well, and it should be a really tight game.
Okay, and you mentioned Plateau Valley this season as being a big contender. Obviously, you may have a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth after last season, but what are you looking to get out of that matchup this year with them?
Well, we're going to learn a lot where we stand. They're third game of the season, so we have the home opener, and then we've got them on the 5th of December. And as you mentioned, they beat us twice in a row last year, 2 out of 3 games in a row. So that'll be a really tough team. They've got most of their starting lineup returning from that state team that went to state last year, and it'll be a really good way for us to find out, where we stand compared to the rest of the conference, and where we stand even in terms of being a potential state contender.
Mm-hmm. And this may be the hardest question I ask you all day, but if you could just narrow it down, what do you think you're looking forward to the most in this new season?
Wow. I just honestly enjoy being on the court with these guys. I mean, it's an awesome group of guys. I've mentioned I grew up in a gym basically with my dad being a coach, and so the chance just to be in the gym with a great group of guys, obviously the competition, doing a little bit of mentoring along the way, and I hope we get a couple wins as well. That'd be great.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Anything you want to add?
No, just grateful for the opportunity.
All right, thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Now, last season, the Buffs women's basketball team finished 3rd in the Pac-12 conference. However, this year, head coach J.R. Payne and the squad would like to improve on that mark. Back-to-back trips to the big dance confirm head coach of CU women's basketball J.R. Payne is no stranger to success. Now she enters her 8th season at the helm in Boulder.
What have you learned in these past 8 years that you can't wait to implement the most into a new season?
Great question. I mean, I think early on we learned it's really important to be just true to who you are and what you want to be about. And so we've worked really hard to recruit the type of players that we want to be around, kids that are blue collar, hardworking, tough, do their job, be a great teammate. And so that hasn't really changed for us. Now that we've really locked into that in the past many years, we've created a culture where we are those things.
Coming off a run to the Sweet 16, Payne's team returned some of the best talent in the conference. She believes preseason all-conference players Jalen Sherrod and Quay Miller will set the tone.
I would say that nobody in the world has higher expectations of ourselves than we do. Like I said, our veterans do a great job of making sure that we're holding ourselves to the standard that we believe we're capable of.
Payne's confidence runs high for the season, which entails a tough non-conference schedule, beginning with the reigning national champions. But the Buffaloes team is hungry for the challenge.
When you look at how tough our schedule is, that tells you how I feel about our team, and our readiness to compete. We talked to our veterans about some of the games that were, put in front of us, and our veterans said, absolutely, we want these games, and so they wanted to be challenged in that way. We'll be prepared.
Well, the latest edition of the men's AP Top 25 college basketball poll has hit the streets. Here's a quick look. Colorado State recently dropped from the rankings after losing their 2 most recent games. The Rams fell to Mountain West Conference foe Nevada on Wednesday of last week, and then most recently fell to conference opponent Wyoming. Both games were on the road. Colorado State now sits at 15-5 on the season and has a conference record of 3-4. The Rams play their next game against San Diego State back home in Fort Collins. The game after that matchup with the Aztecs will be against Fresno State. If the Rams can go 2-0 this week, they should have a decent chance of making it back on the top 25 list within the next 2 weeks or so if they can just keep winning those games. Colorado State is the only team from the Centennial State receiving votes to get back on the poll.
So if CSU can continue winning games, they should be back in the top 25 relatively soon. But let's just hope they can keep those W's coming on the schedule. But make sure to continue following us for all the latest sports coverage here in the Valley and beyond. We'll see you next time.